left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts
right here, right now.
This is a message to all the haters out there. If you don't like what I do, but you watch everything I'm doing, you're still a fan.
Step inside, jump on the floor. Let's get it crunk up on that fun up in this dancery. We got y'all open, now you're floating, so you got to dance for me. Don't need no hateration, holleration in this.
Okay, I can dig it. I can dig the selection. Okay. Tell me you're a DJ without telling me you're a DJ, Adam. Tell me that.
I know how to do some things.
Okay, that's what's up. Hey, FYI, look, this is episode 26. Guys, welcome to another episode of Hog HQ Live, presented to you by Hog HQ on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube. Now, look, episode 26. Before we start, guys, I'm going off script. I'm looking at us on TV on my big screen. I went to YouTube because, of course, we're available on YouTube. So I'm watching us live while we record. And this is really wild because it's on delay. Anyway, once again, we are brought to you by Hog HQ, and we are live once again. The gentleman to this side, this is Adam. The gentleman to that side, that is Matt. And I'm DP. So look, we're going to jump into it. And as you see the title, we got a little different graphic this week. It's called Summer Sessions. So usually in Arkansas, not even in Arkansas, but usually in sports, when all the sports have finished their season, conclude their season, the term talking season come up. Well, here at Hog HQ and Hog HQ Live, we decided to come up with our own version of talking season. We're going to call it Summer Sessions, which is basically going to be a verified situation where we just kind of discuss things and hash things out, previous seasons that have ended, and then critiques or information we may have going into the season coming up for next year. Real quick, Mr. Adam.
Yeah.
You got anything?
The summer session. Yeah. Got a little off track there. So yeah, no, it's really just for us. Like we're going to try to cut the shows down unless there's news, unless we just get rolling. We're going to have specific topics, which again, y'all's input is greatly appreciated. If y'all want us to talk about a specific topic, answer questions, just let us know. Doesn't matter if it's on this post, any post, DM us, whatever. But so, leading up to it, there's going to be a lot of football talk. There's going to be other stuff that comes up, but, we are preparing for August 29th, which is the first game.
Against Arkansas?
No, yep. Yeah. In Little Rock.
Somebody's home.
On a Thursday.
Gotcha. Yeah. Hopefully they seen the show last year and heard Matt say that they didn't have any damn water. Hopefully they get that water situation again. Because I'm pretty sure around August it's going to be pretty hot in the state of Arkansas, across the South in general.
Man.
All right. Yeah. So, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. But before we get into it, after we talk about what to expect and get into football, Adam has a little clip for us. And something I feel like I've been saying for a long time.
Let's go.
49-2. Texas gets the baton second. Georgia not far behind them. But Aaliyah Pyatt, she's going final.
If she goes 50-point low, they go under 320.
That's Kaylin Brown. Aaliyah Pyatt was on the sideline, and they showed her. Now we see Kaylin Brown, and this is the runner-up in the 400 meters. She's always hard charging, but they had enough faith in the freshman to put her last. What a freshman year she's had this season.
And she is going for it. She knows what's at stake. First of all, if they finish third, which they're not, unless they drop the baton 6 times, they will outright win the national title. She is going for it because she knows what the time was. So this is going to be an amazing time. 3:17.94. They have just obliterated their own record by almost 4 full.
When you obliterate your own record?
Your own record.
Yeah, that's pressure. That's pressure. That lets you know what type of program it is. And with that one being said, the women, when they were 51st?
Yeah, it's 51st for them, yeah.
51st. Gotcha. So we got 51 overall championships in track. All right. We knew that the men's program, they didn't win a specific one. But they still have been doing their thing. But since the previous coaches left, it's been a little not year to year. So still been competitive, but not winning at all. With all that being said, I have a statement. And as my guy Jason Johnson say in my famous quote, let me be clear. I'm not concerned with what sport you played growing up, how good you were in rec ball, what you did in the backyard with your cousins and your friends and family. I don't care. I don't care if you played a specific sport in high school and you want to put on a Hog uniform. That's the sport that you love. We're not talking about the sport that generates the most money.
We're not talking about practice.
We're not talking about practice. We're talking about the sport that wins championships year after year. This is one discussion that you can have with any member of the SEC, and they have no argument. No argument. With that being said, we're a track school. I'm gonna say it again for the people in the back. We are a track school. I need you to embrace it. If you don't like it, you don't have to say it out loud. Stop claiming baseball until it happens multiple times over. Stop claiming football and basketball multiple times, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about trophy. We're talking about hardware. Track school. It's okay. It's okay that you're not a track person and you don't run a 40 in under 5 seconds, 7 seconds for most people.
I wonder how long it's going to take, because people still look at, well, not a lot of people. There's still a lot of people out there that look at Oregon, the University of Oregon, because of Nike, because of everything,
right?
As you know, the track empire, if you will. You know, I started reading some posts and comments on X, which I don't normally do, but you know, and some of them caught my eye. It was just like, you know, Fayetteville is track capital of the world for a reason. This, that, and the other. When are they going to move, if they ever will? Like, why not move the national championships to Fayetteville?
It just makes sense to me. It really does.
Because then somebody brought it up too. They're like, well, Arkansas has about triple the national championships that Oregon does in track. So
absolutely,
you know,
but I think it has something to do with field night, Oregon, and money, right? So at the end of the day, we're still talking about Arkansas not cutting a check. So that is what it is. With that being said, we're gonna transition straight into football. So going into football, we're gonna talk about last season grades, and right here, basically, each one of us is gonna give you a grade of last year's Sam Pittman's football team that concluded the season going 4-8, missing out on a bowl game. I want to start it off. So going 4-8, which means you're below average. I'm gonna give it a D. I'm gonna give it a D plus. I'm gonna give it a D plus. I'm gonna give it a D plus on the season overall. Couple things that I saw that really made it a D for me, whether it was the protection by the offensive line or lack thereof, or we're talking about misusement. Is that a word? Misusement of certain players. Isaiah should have been at least SEC freshman. Something. He should have been on. You don't have world-class speed when we talk about a track school and have a guy on the football field and not give him opportunity to shine. So guys being misused. I think the whole thing with NIL and is KJ this, is KJ that, those type of things contributed to it. And we got some things we want to go into going into next year. But overall, I think I want to give the Razorbacks a D plus for the 4-8 conclusion of the season. And I think one of the things that really perturbed me about the 4-8 season was Pittman's inability to take accountability for what's really going on. It was the offensive line play. At the end of the day, the offensive line play is what cost you so many things. And sometimes it was also death on the defensive line. But that's what I have on my grade for the football team. Matt, you got you a grade?
Yeah, I actually, in my head, I had, when we were talking about it earlier, I had D plus pop up immediately. I didn't want to be too harsh because there was some improvement on the defense side of the ball. I mean, they left a lot to be desired. I mean, like Landon Jackson having that one game, you know, but I just, we have some pieces there. We needed some more. Pittman was a little too loyal, and with Cody Kennedy and stuff like that, hands off, trusting a little too much, and he last year he went against his grain. He's the player's coach, and he tried to be a little bit of a hard ass at times, and that's not him. And you act out of character, you're going to get, abnormal results. And he trusted a little too much in people that he shouldn't have, and then he tried to get hands-on way too late, basically. And then you had the whole Dan Enos situation that, in my mind, before it happened, the season started, I thought there was a chance, but it just, looking back on it, I should have known that it wasn't going to fit, it wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
But I think we got a better situation now for sure going forward. O-line, but Armstrong, I thought he was a bright spot. The running backs, when they had a chance, I thought they showed a little bit of promise. And of course, Luke has, before he got hurt, that was a big bright spot for the team. And that was honestly kind of a blow, especially going towards the end of the year, him being out.
Yeah. Piggybacking off of what you just said, I also like Braxton. The young DB out of Frisco, Texas. I definitely like what he brought to the table. Very aggressive. Was able to stay hip to hip with receivers, make plays on the ball. So he definitely did a great job. He was definitely a bright spot. I love that DB room going into next year. Some young guys. We got some transfer guys coming in. Some guys who could deal with competition, so they end up leaving. It is what it is, as Kyle said in the comments. And also something else that you said that was intriguing. The fact that he trusted so many people. He tried a different approach, is what you said. The hands-off approach. Whatever the way you start your spring practice, that's going to be the formula and the layout and the culture for your team. You can't switch it up once you recognize that I just trusted that to run this offense, and it's not explosive like I wish it to be. Rocket Sanders not being able to get off and do what he needs to do, et cetera, et cetera. So definitely some great points on that. Adam, what you got?
Is there a pun there about Rocket?
I didn't say anything.
Anyway, I'm kind of looking kind of the similar spots that y'all grading wise. I have the stats. Of course, I go to stats and everything. And if I pull it up on the screen, it's going to be too small for y'all to see. So I'm just looking at, let's see, total offense, 326 yards. Total defense, we were allowing 357. So negative 30 yards there, or minus 30 yards. First downs were fairly even. Penalties were fairly even. Turnovers were fairly even. It's one of those things that there was games that the defense was showing up or doing the most that they could, and then the offense wasn't helping them out any.
Right.
Whether it was quick 4-and-outs or a turnover, whatever the case may be, they didn't do anybody any favors on the opposite side of the ball. And then there were some games that it was kind of the same thing for defense, offense. Defense not stopping anybody, quick scores, etc. I think that the big thing was obviously getting Dan Enos out of there. Not just the disconnect between him and the locker room, but there was also a disconnect between him and some of the recruits. If people want to know why, I think his name's Jared Lindsey, Fayetteville's quarterback, went to Minnesota. It was directly because of Dan Enos. It had nothing to do with anybody else. That was something that we essentially dug ourselves in a hole in because he was here.
Yeah.
So obviously, all is right in the world now that we brought back Bobby Petrino. And it stung a little bit for, Coach Guyton to leave. But at the same time, business is business. And when you kind of knew it was going to happen once we brought on Petrino, because that Guyton interviewed for the job. And it was one of those things that when you're passed up for that, you're going to go somewhere else, as most assistant coaches would. So, and the same thing that we saw with Jimmy Smith, going to TCU.
Right.
Not saying he wanted that position, just saying, it's new regimes come in, you're going to start losing folks. So overall, it's tough. You went 4-8. So obviously I'm not going to give you an F because an F would be equivalent to Chad Morris's years here. And it's one of those things. So I can't do that, but I'll, give it just above it.
So interesting points that you brought up to me. And I don't know if you guys remember, one questions that I had initially was Jimmy Smith was not only the running back coach, but he was the associate head coach.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to the play calling situation and Dan Enos left, I was like, y'all gonna go to Kenny Guyton? The receiver's not even balling like that. For him to I just didn't understand it. I didn't understand, and I'm sure it was something behind the scenes that we never knew about, we weren't privy to. But I was trying to wonder, as associate head coach, I would think he would be first in line in regards to play calling. And I would think anybody who's a position coach on a specific side of the ball, at some point their goals would be to be a coordinator at some point. So I was confused on why he never got the opportunity to be the offensive coordinator when Dan Enos left. So that was interesting to me when all that came about.
That was why Guyton got it, really, because they saw his career path as doing that. He wanted to be an OC. And then you got the name from being from Ohio State when he played there. So they just tried to push that career path and what he was wanting to go, and that's why he's no longer here, is because he's trying to further that. Plus, like we've talked about before, they're all getting a new clock, if you will, of leniency, knowing that Pittman's kind of on the hot seat, or he basically is on the hot seat.
The whole being from Ohio State, he was the backup. I mean,
still a name. You know every backup at Ohio State, all their backup quarterbacks. I mean,
the ones who end up starting the following year, right. All you got to do, just plug and play. So I definitely get that situation. Moving forward, let's go into off-season critiques. After the season ended, things that we seen, heard that were questionable, or things that we had critiques about. Adam, you want to start us off when it comes to that?
Oh man. Off-season, I mean, I felt like it was a bit quiet at times, just with as much as we had lost out there. I don't feel like and when I'm talking about players transferring out and such, I don't feel like that we honestly made like any big splashes when it comes to the portal, which it's kind of hard to do when you've gone 4-8.
Correct.
So it was really kind of like you're waiting for something to drop. You start seeing us up there in some of the bigger names, especially when it came to like offensive linemen, tight ends and such that were out there. And then we just kept missing out. And it's one of those things we have to look at. Is it the coaches, the coaching changes? Is it NIL? I mean, we know NIL is playing a factor in some of this.
Right.
But, then you start questioning, okay, we're missing out on these. Are the coaches that we brought in the answer? Are they as respected as we think they are? And I'm not saying they're not, so I don't want it to seem like that. You just start playing out all these different scenarios in your head. We're once again going after lower level guys in the D2 realm that, like we've talked about on here previously, our talent evaluation hasn't been the greatest.
Absolutely.
So, I question anytime I see a transfer from a D2 school, because I'm wondering where it all is coming from. Are we solely going off of what we're seeing on their D2 or D3 tape, which is just above high school? And that's, again, no shot at them, but it's the reality of the world that we live in.
Correct.
But I will say, even though, it's been quiet, it's been kind of ho-hum, I do appreciate there not being really any drama. I think we all expect a little bit more drama out of maybe players transferring out.
Yeah.
So I think that's been good. It seems like they've got guys who want to be there, that believe, in Coach Mateos and Coach Petrino, et cetera. So, and we obviously know that the majority of, defensive players obviously love the coaches on that side of the ball, unless you were a linebacker that was just looking for a paycheck.
Yeah, I can dig it. I think part of to piggyback off what you said, as far as being quiet, and I look at that and look at how on the basketball side, the way Musselman played things in regards to guys committing, even the way Coach Kyle is doing things. Like, it was at some point with Coach Kyle, every Monday we expected to commit, right? So with that being said, it was a part where when it came to football, it was just like, okay, who's next? And then once somebody commits, you looking like, who is that guy? I have no idea who that is. I think my biggest critique from the offseason was the recruiting class. the ranking of the recruiting class. And we go back to kind of what you said in regards to talent evaluation. Are these guys really the guys? And even looking at his formula on how he wants to do things. How many guys he wants to get from high school, how many guys he's looking to get from the portal. And at the end of the day, I've seen very few guys that he got from high school that have actually panned out to be good players overall. Draft picks, high draft picks. I haven't seen it yet, especially offensive line. Saying that you're supposed to be the offensive line guru, I have yet to see a guy that he has recruited from the high school ranks, brought through the trenches, trained him up, polished him off, and made him a NFL draft pick. I have yet to see that at this point with offensive lineman. And that's one.
Thankfully, we're not seeing the Arkansas media hype up his draft picks at other schools like they were at the beginning, because that's not existent here. So that's out the door here. Right.
So that whole, the whole thing that was on X about, first round, and he had two guys that came from Georgia who were first round draft picks, offensive linemen. That was the time to capitalize on that. That was it. I mean, once people was like, wait a minute, he came from Georgia and he had two guys get drafted in the NFL first round. That was the time to capitalize on that. And as opposed to being a nice guy and not want to cherry pick guys from Kirby Smart's roster, shit, they're gonna turn them out anyway. They're gonna leave anyway if they're not playing. So at least go get them then while your name is still hot in regards to the connection to Georgia. But it seemed like he waited too late because he didn't want to poach guys from certain teams. So either way go, it's a dirty game, it's a dirty league. So at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do to be in the fight. I think my biggest critique overall was the recruiting class. Got some nice pieces in the class, but overall, I was looking for a top 15, maybe a top 20 class. But when you end with a 4-8 record with some drama and you end up cutting your offense coordinator in the middle of the season, you lose out on the quarterback in state who ends up going to Auburn. People forgot about that. Like him, Lindsey, like it was a couple situations where in the same situation that happened with, what's my guy I told you he played quarterback. I mean, he played tight end. He transferred.
Jacoby
Criswell. It's the same situation. You cut somebody, you bring somebody in late, and then he recruits a guy at the last minute, and the guy's like, well, I'm already attracted to Auburn in this situation. So the young man went to Auburn, and it was what it was. And Lindsey went, where did he go? Minnesota. Yeah. So, I mean, you had guys, and now we can sit back and watch as fans from guys from the state and just see if they flourish in those systems where they're currently at and not being in the Arkansas uniform. So, at the end of the day, it's Kane Archer 2026 or bust, regardless of who the coach is. So, that's that. Matt, what you got in your critique?
Well, at first, I want to applaud him for at least getting rid of Cody Kennedy. Because, I mean, that was one of our biggest issues. So I will say that. As far as critiquing, though, I want to critique a little bit of the DBs and how they were, stopping double moves. So that's something that definitely needs to be addressed and worked on their own time. As far as everything else, we definitely didn't land any big names, like you said. But you're not going to. It is what it is, and we need NIL, but the NIL isn't going to come without some
winning. Yeah.
You got to either win big, or you're going to have to bring in new blood to generate the enthusiasm. Because if we didn't have Petrino, it would be an empty stadium the entire season for the most part, except for maybe when Texas comes. I mean, that would be what I would expect. And it still may end up that way if they start slow.
Right.
So that is one thing to keep an eye out on, because Petrino's offenses do start a little slow at times. And so we need to keep an eye on that. But hopefully they get up to speed a lot quicker. But as far as critiques, that's really about it for me. I may come up with something later, but there's so much.
Gotcha. So real quick, William Brown says they better go get the Parkview kids. And I do know we had a commitment from was it Murphy? Murphy
or something like that.
Right. Plays quarterback. Heard he's a hell of a stud of an athlete. My question with that one is, Mr. Brown said that. My question is, I wonder, will they keep him at quarterback, or will they at least allow him opportunity to play quarterback if they decide to move him per position? we got a lot of little quarterbacks on the roster, guys we really think we're after that we really got a chance with. So that'd be interesting to see what that looks like at the end of the day. You still have what's his name? Jackson? What's the quarterback we just had? Jefferson. You got Jefferson. So you got Jefferson and Jackson end up signing on from Alabama. Jerry Jones is holding out on spending money on the Cowboys to spend money on the Arkansas NIL. I wish that was true. Mr. Brown, Mr. William Brown. I wish that was true. I hope that's true at the end of the day, because I am not a Cowboys fan.
Well, we don't have to worry
the Cowboys.
We don't have to worry about
CD
the
Lamb
Cowboys
and everybody else.
Yeah, you got two guys on here who die hards for their team, and Matt used to like a team, but it's in the air right now. So,
well,
yeah,
when those two teams are in the best conference in football, I mean,
AFC North, big facts. Hey, big facts.
Quick question before we go into the next, and this kind of touched on just the different players that we've had come in. When you see a high school recruit that has committed to a school or whatever, or you look up his 24/7 page, when you see athlete and not a specific position, are you kind of weary of that? Because I feel like a lot of those guys that come in don't necessarily find a spot. As in they jump from position group to position group.
I think this is just my thought process. Who knows what these coaches really think? I'm sure they do a thorough job of investigating these guys' skill sets and what the needs are on the current roster. I look at Raheem Sanders when Rocky came on. He was labeled an athlete. The guy played wide receiver in high school. So something they had him at So they had him at wide receiver. Was like, okay, he's gonna come be a wide receiver. But they looked at their current roster and was like, we really need somebody with this size and speed at the running back position. And I think at the end of the day, I don't know if he would have adapted as far as his wiggle and getting separation, which is a problem we got no matter who's on the wide receiver roster at this point, is getting separation and getting the ball. I don't have an issue with athletes. I think the biggest thing is when you find a proper athlete, it's the utilization. It's the proper utilization of the guy. Because at the end of the day, Satania is listed as a wide receiver, but let's be clear. I mean, he could play multiple positions if he wanted to. I think Braxton could play multiple positions if he wanted to. Mm-hmm. So it's a couple guys who I feel like could play different positions. I know Luke has played tight end, but I want to say he was somewhat listed or played something else in high school.
I think he was like a linebacker or defensive end. Or
something like that. But I think they've done a good job in regards to the guys they brought in like that. But to answer your question, I'm not leery of that because I think at the end of the day, you have to be able to properly utilize those guys within your system. So having your offensive coordinator go out and get athletes, but you got to put them in a position to win. Same thing we talked about last week with Trevor Brazile. If you come in as an athlete or as a guy and the system doesn't permit you to flourish in the way that you're most gifted in, then you're doing that player a disservice. So I think the biggest thing is just finding where to put guys so they can be beneficial and win. Matt, what you got?
Yeah, I would agree with that for the most part, with everything y'all said. We definitely need to – you got to recruit athletes in general as in the term athlete, but we've definitely – the part is finding where they excel at because, I mean, you think they can do everything as a coach. You know, he can run routes and all that stuff, but he may not be the greatest at catching. Right. And then you put him at cornerback, and he's not the greatest at shuffling backwards. Correct. You know, and swiveling his hips. So it's a give and take, and it needs to be better evaluation, honestly, on the tape. And sometimes you recruit them because they want to come and play receiver, and so you recruit them as that. And you give them a little chance, and then you try to switch on the cornerback, and you're just throwing away practically a whole year because they got to get readjusted, learn the techniques that they want to use at that program, being called, Hogs, and it could be completely different than what they were taught in high school. So it's a whole different learning curve that they have to adjust to, and it usually delays their growth quite a bit doing that. Now you do have some people, McAdoo or somebody like that could switch over and pick up real quick, but unfortunately we don't have him.
Yeah, and I think part of that too, speaking on McAdoo, even though he's retired because of injury, but I think it has also something to do with not only the athleticism, but the football IQ. because you can play wide receiver and defensive back. You're basically mirroring each other at the end of the day. So if you can run full speed and run around a certain way, and then you're able to have the skill set to backpedal and make cuts and swivel your hips, they say, and attack the ball, play defensive back, that's a hell of a skill set. But you got to find the right guys who can do it, who you've seen do it on tape, and not just try to sell them dreams and try to plug them into a square and a circle and a square peg and think it's going to work. Yeah. It's not going to be effective.
Speaking of selling dreams.
Don't sell me hopes and dreams built on the back of bullshit.
That part.
Over here, quick before we go to the next, there was a comment that wasn't showing up. Will Bonham, this was from a little bit ago, but what is stopping us from being like Mizzou or Ole Miss? Do they have more NIL resources than we do?
Mizzou and who else?
Ole Miss.
All right, so
go
ahead, Matt. Go ahead. You got
Ole Miss. This is a story. I want to go into something real quick because I've been holding this for a while. Ole Miss has been meddling in all the other schools' players during the season. I remember telling somebody like 2 years ago, I said, "Come back to me when KJ Jefferson is no longer here, and I'll tell a story." I'm about to tell it now. All right. So for 2 straight off seasons,
it's about to get good.
2 straight off seasons, Lane Kiffin was going after KJ Jefferson, trying to get him to go home. It almost happened his junior year, I guess, his second year, 2 years ago, whatever the hell it was. 2 years ago, it almost happened. KJ really debated on doing it. He decided not to, obviously, and stayed. But they were throwing out big money at him, trying to get him to go there. He decided to stay loyal to Pittman and stay. They tried to come back again before last season to do the same thing, had a little bit less effect. But they also started going after Catalan. Yes. So I think a lot of Lane Kiffin's antics have been talking to players through indirect avenues, and so they're playing a little bit different game than some players or some coaches are trying to play. Pittman's a classy guy. He's going to try to do things the right way for the most part. Lane Kiffin ain't. And, I mean, do you want to get dirty with the rest of them, or do you want to try to do it the right way and feel good about yourself if you do something, if you do well, or, you know, at least have your head held high that you didn't cheat and lose.
Yeah, if you're gonna cheat, if you're gonna do dirty work, then you gotta win. I mean, I can't lie. As a football fan in general, Lane being Lane at the end of the day, Matt, you're right. So Lane been doing this. He been a shyster since way back, right? At the end of the day, when it came time for us to hire him in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden, Ole Miss gave that offer, and we didn't counter offer. Yeah, I still would have took him. I don't give a damn what you say, because I enjoy to get your popcorn ready. I enjoy running down the sidelines, throwing your doggone play sheet,
the playbook in the air.
Yeah. I'm like, I like those things, and like I said, at the end of the day, I like the innovation that he has. He's getting older and more mature. At the same time, he still has that childhood, that kid playing inside of him, and listen to his antics.
Even the news on the corporate sponsors being able to have logos on fields. What does he do? He tags French's Mustard and tags Tennessee and tells them to go on, because he's still pulling out that stuff. So even if you don't like him, he's a good follow on X, because it's comical. It's funny. Don't take it seriously what he posts. Just roll with it.
And what's crazy is he is the biggest troll coach in college football. Period. If you ever follow this dude on X, you look like, I know somebody must have hacked his account. No, that's really him. Like, he say some wild stuff, man, just to try to poke at other teams. He'll jump at Mississippi State. He'll jump on LSU. He'll jump on Tennessee. Like, dude don't care. Alabama, he'll jump on anybody. He ain't scared. And I like the fearlessness that he has in that regard. What you about to say, Adam?
Oh, nothing. I was thinking in my head when you said never scared that I needed David Banner queued up, but
that's bone crushing.
Either
way. I know it's somewhere in your playlist. I do want to jump in this comment real quick. I think it was William Brown talking about the Parkview kids.
Yeah.
He said, I think they're going to stay at the position. The one guy, quarterback, Murphy, saying that he's going to try to get all 5 of them. I'm sure they're selling them staying together. I like the running back as the best player, though. Absolutely agree with you that on that standpoint. And let's be clear, William, since you brought this point, this is once again another opportunity for the staff to get it right as far as building a fence around the state. You seen you had 2 guys down at Pine Bluff this year that end up going to Missouri. At some point, we got to stop. We got to stop the bleeding. At some point, we got to put up some wins, make the program attractive again. It's one thing to say, well, I grew up in the state and I want to go and be a Hog. At the same time, some of the players that want to be Hogs, quote unquote, they're not ranked high enough, so you pass up on them guys and then you go get them in the portal. The young man who's I think was our last commit from the previous class, a transfer, he's a DB. He grew up in the state, and all of a sudden it's like, we're glad to have him. You should have recruited him out of high school, because whoever you recruited in his spot, they're no longer on the damn roster, so it don't even damn matter. So at the end of the day, man, I look at it from that situation and be like, we got to find a way to put a wall up around the state and keep the guys in state that have the premier talent. Boom, about to go into our last topic. That's Pittman 6 things. So this particular segment we got right here, these are 6 things, and we're basically going to give 2 apiece. 2 things that we feel like can help propel Pittman to keep his job and to have the Razorbacks have a winning record with the schedule they have in front of them for next year. So once again, if you want to chime in the comments with your 2 things, please feel free to do so. Once again, 2 things from each of us that we feel like Sam Pittman can do to help propel his career, extend his career at Arkansas as the head coach, and provide some wins for the school. I'm going to start off here. So my first thing is, don't be behind again. Don't be behind the times again. And I say that, check this out. When he first came, he was happy to be a head coach. Everybody was happy that he was here. He was a guy who wanted to be here. At the same time, if you're supposed to be an offensive line guru, I don't give a damn who you hire as an offensive line coach. You should have been a help assistant coach in the offensive line. Period. You was late on that. You just started this year. You just started coaching offensive line again and helping this year. You waited that long to get to it. You was behind on NIL. You was behind on learning how to be a head coach. You depended on your coordinators and Odom and Browse for 2 years. And you would get in the press conference and say, well, the offense coordinator made the call, and we just went with it. The buck stops with you. So at the end of the day, stop being behind. Every year is something. NIL, transfer portal. Every year is something that he misses out on because he wants to run a program a certain way. And I feel like every year is a life lesson for him, and he's learning things along the way. So kudos to him for putting what he wants in front to the side and understanding this is how the world works of college football right now. And I have to get on board and be ahead of what's going on. Just one thing from me, comment I'm looking at, Matt. Build an offensive line. He's the best offensive line in football, offensive line coach of football. We shouldn't have line position. That was a narrative that was put out there, but I haven't seen it since he's been in Arkansas. Like I said, show me one guy.
I'm not arguing that either. But okay, so let's just look at.
Are you about to say what I think you're about to say?
So when he's at Georgia,
thank you.
He had access to the best talent in the entire country. Yep. Now, I'm not taking away from what we had here at Arkansas under Brett Bielema and Sam Pittman. But, we keep hearing this and dwelling on this, best line coach. But are we taking into consideration that he had an unlimited talent pool? You're at one of the top teams in the nation while you're here. Your only competition at that time was Alabama when it came to the SEC. So, and really in the entire country, you had the pick of the litter. Georgia puts out talent day and night.
Correct.
So, it's just one of those things that it's hard for me to be on that and put him up on that pedestal of the greatest offensive line coach when you have your hand-picked talent.
Here go the other side of the argument that you didn't throw out there. When Bielema was here and he was offensive line coach, for the historians of college football, go back and look at Wisconsin. Go back and look at Wisconsin when Brett Bielema was there as the offensive coordinator and the head coach. Barry Alvarez created a culture at Wisconsin where we put our offensive linemen and running backs. You can look at all the Heisman running backs or the ones that contention for the Heisman. It's because of the offensive line. So
Ron
you
Dane
look
ring
at
a
it.
bell?
Who?
Ron Dane.
Exactly. Hell, what's
Muncie Ball.
Melvin Gordon.
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon.
I say, the list goes on and on as far as running back. So it makes sense that Alex Collins came, right? Because he's seen what the system looked like at Wisconsin, and he was like, I got a chance to play in the SEC. I can get away from South Florida. It makes so much sense. People don't look at the underlying or the bigger picture at the end of the day. This came from a Wisconsin scheme. Arkansas was just lucky to get Britt Bielema in regards to him getting these offensive linemen. Trottola, man, that was just crazy. His talent evaluation of offensive linemen was a different level. And you can even see that at his current institute at Illinois. He just sent somebody to the league this past year. So it's just like, I think it's a scheme fit and it's a situation. So I definitely agree with you. We've been hanging on to the best offensive line coach for years, and I haven't seen it yet. So I say my reservation to this next year about that. Once again, I'm still on my first point. I'm going to my second point. My second thing for Pittman going into this year, be the CEO. Be the CEO, okay? You got Petrino, and let's just be clear. I don't know how this man feel. Rest in peace, Alex Collins. That's what's up, William Brown. So at the end of the day, you got Bob Petrino. And let's be clear, if you're asking me, you're looking over your shoulder, hoping this man will take your job. You got the fan base clamoring for Bob Petrino to be the next head coach. Meanwhile, you're still in position to be the head coach. Be the CEO. Lead with integrity, lead with authority. Stand on business is what the young kids say. Stand on business. If you say something, stand on it. If they go to the portal, they can't come back. You told me that before, and you reneged on it. Well, he didn't miss any practice time. Then another guy, he missed practice time. You still brought him back. Stand on business. Say what you're going to say, mean what you're going to say, and stand on it. So once again, my first thing is be ahead of schedule. Be ahead of schedule as a head coach. You got enough years of experience on your belt, including the COVID year, because you've been piggybacking off COVID years for too long. Something got to shake. And then the other part of it is be the CEO of your business. Be the CEO of your last name at the end of the day. Stand on business. The buck stops with you. Run the business like you want to. If you're going to get fired for not winning, do it your way and do it with integrity. Adam, what you got?
Oh, let's see. Number one is when you walk into a press conference, do not use the phrase, I don't know, or anything that sounds like that. We're tired of hearing it. The smaller Arkansas media takes it and runs with it. I'm not talking about your newspapers and whatnot or news stations. And quite frankly, other fan bases do too. So it's one of those things, just stop. There's no point to go in and sugarcoat things.
Right.
We all can see it. We all talk about it. You should be talking about it with your players, so it really shouldn't come as a surprise to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I get the whole, let's say, wanting to protect the dynamic of that player-coach relationship. Totally get that. But at the same time, let's take a look at some of the coaches. And I'm not trying to say that Pittman is at this level of these coaches I'm about to say, but, you know, coaches like a Nick Saban, a Kirby Smart, hell, even Dabo Swinney, you know, they're not necessarily going to call out a specific player, but they'll call out a group. They'll call out a specific side of the ball. And it just doesn't do anybody any favor. So, I mean, why not hurt their feelings a little bit? Hey, they flat out suck today.
Yeah.
You know, I just, the babysitting and coddling, I think, has to end. Let's see. Number two, I think that, you know, we've touched on it in multiple ways, but, you know, if I agree with you on being the CEO, totally. That's what he said that he was going to do when he took this job.
Correct.
That was one of the first things that he said, and you know, being interviewed, or maybe it was in his introductory speech, whatever. But he said that he was going to hire the best guys for the positions and let them do their thing. And we haven't seen that.
Correct.
And then we get to the point that he's not stepping in when those groups are underperforming or they're not performing. So, especially with the offensive line that we've been looking at, and I know a lot of it was like I've said, babysitting and coddling and whatnot. And, Cody Kennedy was a prime example. Step in if you're this guru and show them how it's done. And now I will say, from what we've seen, he's been on field with the offensive linemen a hell of a lot more since the end of last season than we've ever seen him.
Right.
And especially with, since Mateos is higher. So I love to see it. But at the same time, which he can do this to an extent, make sure everything else is running smoothly. But I will say, I think that he now has guys on both sides of the ball at the same time that can run their respective sides of the ball.
Correct.
He now doesn't have to worry about the offense because of Bobby Petrino. He can let the defense do their thing. He trusts T. Will. So it's one of those that you finally now have both sides. Because before, we know Enos wouldn't cut it, which I looked it up too. If anybody wanted to know, Enos is now an offensive analyst at Florida. Didn't think so, but
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you something.
We don't care.
Jerry,
did it to
We don't
myself.
care. We don't care.
Well, I was curious, but you have guys that you supposedly trust now. Let them do their thing. The way your season ends as Arkansas's head coach has a lot to do with those guys.
Yep.
So whether it's you get to leave, you get to retire, you get to stay on good terms, however it pans out, I think that that's directly going to be on, we'll say, Petrino and T. Will's shoulders.
Gotcha.
So it's just one of those things. Put your foot down when it needs to be put down. Let Petrino and T. Will do their thing. But at the same time, if you have to step in, man up and step in.
Yeah. If you and Petrino get to cussing each other out on the headsets, fuck it. Roll with it. Like, if you telling me about analytics from last year about 4th and 1, and then all of a sudden it's 4th and 1, and now you want to throw a damn screen on the goal line, I don't get that shit out of here. I don't want to hear nothing about that. Matt, what you got? And because of what Adam said, I got a third thing to throw in there before we do a round robin. But go ahead, Matt.
All right. Well, the first one I want to say is show me who you really are, Sam Pittman. What I mean by that is you come in to Arkansas and you're all about, believing the same belief that Hunter Yurachek was putting out there about getting paid per win. He said basically echoed the same thing. He wouldn't hear for money. Give him 2 years, and what is he in? All about the money. Fires his agent. He becomes brand new, and he kind of did it, like I said earlier, about switching his approach last year and getting basically a horrible result. And so, who are you, Sam Pittman? You seem to be a nice, fun guy that somebody would like to drink with or hang out with. But besides that, what do you stand on, like you said? So that would be my first one. My second one is clock management.
That's a great.
We need better timeout management. We need to not take timeouts, basically around kickoffs and stuff like that. We need timeouts for the crucial points in the game. Now, I understand if somebody's on a momentum or, your defense or offense spots something and you need to communicate it. I get it. But other than that, we don't need to waste timeouts for minuscule reasons.
Then we did damn timeout to damn kick the damn field goal.
I think so.
A punt.
Yes. Like we were going to kick a field goal and then we turn around and punt it. And we call it timeout. Like, take the damn 5 yards.
Right.
What's it going to change?
Right.
So those are the things that it kind of ties into what y'all said, especially with the CEO stuff and standing on business. Who are you? Show us who you are and be that person every day. Otherwise, nobody's going to respect you. If you try to please everybody, you're going to please nobody.
Correct.
And you're going to get your ass fired.
Facts.
And so do that and work on your time management. You got to feel it in the game. There is a feel to it, but he didn't have it last year. And I don't know if he was panicking because of the offense and the O-line and all that or what, but you got to do better. You got to do better.
Hey, I can dig those points. William Brown talking about some KJ need a timeout so he can get some skills. Hell no. He should have kept him in his jockstrap, damn it. Real quick, go to this comment, then we'll do a little round robin and wrap it up. William Brown. Once again, William Brown, shout out to you. You've been commenting the whole evening.
Sir.
Thank you for your comments. T will be better with Petrino on staff. Agree. Sam just needs to recruit and beg for NIL money. He can offer all the recruits cold beer. I can dig it. Look, in regards to that comment right there, whoever name is going on this field, that's where the bag gonna come from NIL. It got to happen. It's no way it's not a correlation between the two. If not, why?
Well, and even Will's comment that wasn't able to put on screen. If you look at Mizzou, they got the big donation to go towards their renovations or however they want to put it. But then there was also a chunk of that went to the NIL. Right. So, it's, hey, here's $20 million or $40 million, and here's $5 to $10 million to NIL.
And we see this upgrade Reynolds Razorback Stadium. It's still,
and not put in a bar on the roof or whatever like they did.
Damn the bar. Fix it so people can go from side to side on the stadium, and there's no confusion about where to go, how to get there, enough space to go to concession stands, things of that nature. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna give my last little point, and then I'm gonna jump to you guys and see what you guys got to wrap it up. My last little point. This is my bonus point. Don't let loyalty cost you your damn job. Too many times we looked up and was like, why is this guy playing if he keep getting whooped? He's a super senior. He came back. He was loyal to us, so we played him. Play the best damn player on your roster. That's the reason why you just said on social media that one of your best offensive linemen you had on your current roster or previous roster, he lost his love for the game. No, he lost his love for the program at Arkansas. He found a home at TCU. Talking about Chamblee. Yeah. So at the end of the day, don't tell me about this dude who's a super senior who is damn trash. Because if he not better than the young guy, put the young guy out there, let him catch his lumps. Because if they're the same player, give me the younger guy that has less experience but is more skilled or talented than the guy that has experience and he is not as athletic or technically sound as the other guy. So that's all I'm saying in that regard. I'm hoping that with this Tyson giving that much to Coach Cal, that the rest of the millionaire get to fighting and throwing the money to NIL. Matt, I definitely agree with you on that one. About to go to Matt first, and then I'm going to jump back into William's comment, and I'm going to go to Adam. All right, Matt, what you got on this little round robin? We're going to wrap it up. What you got?
Well, let's just tie it into what you were just talking about Chamblee going to SMU and everything. The money and the NIL. Yeah, we need more NIL money, but you're not going to dump your money into a product that hasn't given you anything. You're going to eventually cut it off, meaning the staff, mainly the head coach. And so what we paid for to get players from, say, Drew Sanders, what we paid for him for a couple years ago, Chamblee got more than that to go to SMU. Think about that. There's a lot of money getting thrown around. They were throwing Missouri's throwing about the same amount of money for freshmen. Now, as a businessman, yeah, that's idiotic. And they have more fish to pull from than we do.
Correct.
But our big fish, when you have the big fish, they're going to want something back in return in some fashion, whatever that is. And if they're not seeing return on their investment, they're going to stop investing.
Makes sense to me.
So it's just they're businessmen dealing with their own money, so you're going to be tight with it. So you need to think about that going forward, and we'll see what happens. But there's a lot of money being thrown out. That's why they're talking about putting a cap basically on it. However, that's going to work out.
Right.
It's still what's going to happen. They're just going to pay people the same way they were, and there's still going to be money under the table somehow. They'll find loopholes. They always do.
Yeah, they said the school's going to be able to pay the players now. So that's
so with that, and this could be my little last bit, is So the NCAA paying all players, all athletes now, or what'll be coming up. It's the NCAA's way of basically putting these players in a somewhat contract, if you will. So it's going to be, you're going to play in bowl games, no matter if it's the Taco Bell Bowl. Doesn't matter. You're going to play in it. And then we still got to look at the NIL. They're still going to make more money in the NIL. So, yeah, the NCAA is going to want to be like, well, we're going to cap it so that what we're paying the players is more than the NIL money.
Right.
So then you're going to get into that back and forth that's going to essentially end up being your separation of the SEC and Big Ten and Big 12, whoever else, from the NCAA, which I think is what will lead us to the Big Four basically being a new entity and the NCAA being its own. You're going to see multiple national title games. You're going to see the NCAA basically get butthurt because all these big power conferences, they have their own media rights. They have their own TV deals. Basically, all that they're going to have to do is have a more governing body to dole out punishments because they can't they can't just sit back and wait for the NCAA to lay the hammer.
Right.
So, we're at the beginning to midway stage of everything we've been talking about the past. We've gone from realignments and power conferences to essentially we're talking about a whole new league.
Yeah, super
it's going to be here, I would say 2030, around that time frame.
Gotcha.
So it's one of those things. It's a big pissing contest between the NCAA and the other conferences and who's going to win. So it's all about money. Nobody gives a shit about the players. Let's be honest. It's all about the bottom line. Well, I'll take that back. The coaches do care about their players.
Gotcha.
The powers that be do not. All they care about is how much their pockets are getting lined.
Gotcha.
And then there was a question in here about the
naming rights to the stadium.
Yeah, nothing that I've seen has come out yet. I will say that it won't get reported on truthfully until it's actually in the works. I know last year there was a Arkansas media member that put it out that it was a done deal, and Hunter Yurchek himself said no, not true.
Gotcha.
So no, nothing that I've seen has been done. Nothing. I'm sure it's been talked about behind the scenes, but nothing that they're going to leak. And I think something that big is going to be kept hush hush.
Gotcha. All right. So as we wrap it up, once again, episode 26, we thank you guys for tapping in with us. We tried to keep it short, but we got to some great topics and kept it going for a good hour once again. Side note, this is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Yeah, let's not forget about it. It won't get talked about, but from man to man, I appreciate you two gentlemen on this screen and appreciate any other gentleman that is watching. Take care of yourself. Take care of your mental health. It is key. We need great men in this country to keep it rolling. So once again, no diss to the ladies who created us and helped us bring here. At the same time, we need great men. We need great family men. We need great men to create structure within this country. And we just thank you guys for that. Also, we got Father's Day coming up, piggybacking off of that. Next week, we're going to definitely do, and if you're around for the Christmas, the holidays, you're looking lost.
Are we doing one on Father's Day?
Is that Father's Day?
Next Sunday is Father's Day.
Look, nobody gives a damn about Father's Day. They ain't going to get nothing, but they going to have the daddy out there barbecuing. Shit, they going to work the hell out the damn daddy.
Hey, how about this? As a Father's Day gift, don't worry about going to buy him something. Just go spend time with him if you can.
There you go.
That'll mean more than anything that you could buy. Just go have a conversation and hang out.
All right. We're going to throw that in there to wrap it up. At the end of the day, ladies or men, I advise you, speak up. No matter what generation you come from, a lot of us get taught not to talk about how we feel and not to have emotions. But then all of a sudden, when your woman say, why doesn't he talk? Because, lady, you have a created environment where this man can talk without you throwing that shit back in his face. With that being said, if you're paying attention out here, Father's Day is coming up. Most men buy for themselves. If he wants some golf clubs, he wants some cologne, he wants some shoes, he going to buy that himself. Just let the man have his peace. Ask him what he wants for Father's Day. And if he say, hey, I just want to spend time with my children be left alone, sip some beer, and watch the game, my feet up. Let him do it. Let him have his one day. Let him have his one day at the year, and let him be at peace. That's mine. What you got on the Mac?
Yeah, I echo that. If anything, buy him a bottle opener like I had for Christmas and drink one with him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, at the end of the day, lady, if you're not excited about what he's watching on the tube, just sit there and be pretty. Open that man a cold beer and just watch him. Just watch him be a man. Hey, let him do his thing. At the end of the day, man, we're going to close out the show. We thank you guys for joining us tonight. Once again, we're available on Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube. Once again, to subscribe to YouTube is absolutely free $99. It doesn't cost you a dime. And that rhyme, bars. So please go ahead and go to the YouTube and subscribe. Leave a comment. It runs up all the algorithms and let people see our content more often. So if you're excited about what you're seeing or you enjoy what you watch every other Sunday or every Sunday, please make sure to share it with a friend. And I ain't say it today, but tell a friend to tell a friend. It's Hog HQ Live, baby. And we always do what we do. With that being said, we're going to get out of here. Thank you once again. We'll see you next week. Either way it go, we'll let you know in the group what we're going to do for next week. With that being said, have a great work week. Y'all be blessed. Take care. We out.
Peace.